first RCMP virtual town hall, a collaboration between the City of Grande Prairie Enforcement Services and the Grande Prairie RCMP. I'm Peter King, Inspector and Operations Officer with the Grande Prairie RCMP Detachment. This evening you will hear from 4 presenters, followed by a question and answer session. Once the presentations end, we will invite you to post your questions in the question and answer tab at the bottom of your screen. While we cannot answer the questions about specific cases or incidents being investigated, we do welcome questions about crime prevention plans and strategies. Please keep your questions clean, respectful, as we will not address any that violate our social media commenting guidelines. Get to as many questions as possible. Those not covered this evening's event will be followed up by either the RCMP or Enforcement Services. I'd like to introduce our panel. With us this evening are Mayor Jackie Clayton, Chris Manuel, Director of Protective and Social Services, City of Grande Prairie, Ross Gear, Acting Program Manager for Enforcement Services, City of Grande Prairie, John Graham, Sergeant, Grande Prairie RCMP, Lindsay Ralph, Constable, Grande Prairie RCMP, and Helen Napier, Municipal Manager, City of Grande Prairie. At this point, we would welcome Mayor Jackie Clayton, who brings greetings on behalf of the City of Grande Prairie Council. Welcome, Mayor Clayton.
Good evening, everyone. It's Jackie Clayton here on behalf of City Council. Thank you so much for having us tonight. And as well, a huge thanks to the RCMP and Inspector King. Those of you who may not know, having an opportunity such as this is unique in nature. It just really shows the opportunity and the foresight of the RCMP willing to reach out to the community and allow this opportunity in this venue for conversation. I think that a big kudo needs to go to Inspector King and the team of the local RCMP detachment, because situations like this aren't very common. On behalf of council, I'm looking forward to the open, honest dialogue. However, this won't be a one time and we're done. There will be another opportunity later in the year. So the expectation is twice a year we'll have this venue. And in addition to that, there is always an opportunity through our police advisory committee that is represented on council by Councillor Dylan Bresty and Councillor Kevin O'Toole. So if you don't have a chance to share your opinion or ask your question tonight, please feel free to reach out to those 2 councillors or myself at any time to share your thoughts and consideration. I look forward to an open conversation. The information that's shared tonight, I'm sure you will find valuable, and looking forward to continuing this opportunity for conversation. So thanks so much, Inspector King, Director Manuel, and everyone else on the panel this evening. And I'm going to mute, but I will be part of the conversation and hope to get on screen soon. Thank you.
Mayor Clayton. Please join me in welcoming Chris Manuel, Director of Protective and Social Services for the City of Grande Prairie.
Much like the mayor, I'd like to again thank the RCMP and Enforcement Services for all the work that has been put into the past 12 months. 2021 was certainly a challenging year as we went through year 2 of the pandemic, certainly adjusted all of our workplaces and presented some new challenges for both agencies. But through that time, we've seen some very significant initiatives take hold, some of which I'm sure we'll hear about tonight. And the results of those initiatives have seen measurable success in reduced crime rates in this community, which is the direction we'd like to go. So thank you very much, and I look forward to you guys sharing your stories with the community and seeing what sort of questions and answers exist.
I'm up, everybody. I'm Ross Gear with Enforcement Services. Certainly my pleasure to be here tonight and able to speak. I'll start with the slides, please. We can go to the next slide, please, and we'll start the presentation. The mission of Enforcement Services is to raise awareness and ensure compliance with the city bylaws and select provincial statutes. Our team is dedicated to providing quality information and investigations in the field of bylaw enforcement, animal services, business licensing, traffic safety, and parking control in the City of Grande Prairie. Next slide. So this is our key services. We do vehicle license for hire, and that's for taxis and for all licensed vehicles, emergency response, traffic enforcement, bylaw enforcement, commercial vehicle inspections, which is a thing of our traffic enforcement, parking management, found property, and animal control. And recently, our officers are getting more and more into public security, and that has to do with our street engaged population, loitering downtown, trespassing. We've also started an agent program where businesses and people can call up our department and they can register, and then we can act as agent on their behalf if they have people trespassing or loitering on their property. Slide, please. Animal services. Peace officers help owners ensure that their pets are a positive addition to the community. This is done through education programs, mediation between neighborhood disputes, providing advice and enforcement. We attend approximately 1,800 calls per year for animal control and issue approximately 4,500 licenses per year. Animal service is a specialized part of bylaw. Each year we deal with a number of dog attacks, with a half a dozen or so being serious in nature. Beyond the things that we do for animals, parking, animal welfare, all the things listed. We also look after urban hens, urban bees, exotic animals such as reptile snakes, and all what are permitted through the Animal Responsibility and Pet Ownership Bylaw. The last service is City and County Operator Regional Care Facility, and that is a partnership between Grande Prairie City and Grande Prairie County, and we work closely with them. It's a wonderful partnership. It's been ongoing for quite some time, and we also work closely with Bandage Paws. Next one, please, bylaw enforcement. There are hundreds of bylaws. However, enforcement deals with approximately 20. And the reason we deal with these 20 is they have some sort of enforcement action for unlawful behavior or behavior that's, that goes against what the city does. Bylaw enforcement, some of the things we do, snow removal, minimum property standards, that's a fairly big one. That's dealing with messy yards, excessive grass and trees, and storage issues. We also deal with noise. That's under the Noise and Nuisance and Public Disturbance Bylaw. Drainage, protecting land, city lands, and with city lands, we're talking about we have the Parkland Bylaw, the Use of Public Lands Bylaw, which are two of the major ones. Now, if I can just stop for a minute. The Municipal Government Act authorizes cities such as Grande Prairie to create and enforce bylaws and to maintain the health, safety, and wellness of the community. So that's where the city gets the authority from, is through the Municipal Government Act. It's a fairly large act. It's one of the most important acts in.
One of the visitors.
We're getting feedback again. I'm sorry. Sure. Go to the next slide. I'll continue. Parking control. Parking control is covered under the traffic bylaw, and it also is part of the Traffic Safety Act, Highway Rules and of the Road Regulation, the UHRRR. So parking control enforcement services is tasked with administrating city and provincial parking regulations. We attend approximately 2,000 calls per year regarding parking issues. The things that are frequently reported to us are prohibited parking. This would be a no stopping in a bus zone, or it could be even in a school zone. Obstruction, which usually blocking an entrance of some kind. Abandoned vehicles parking. Well, a lot of the parking meters are gone, but we still have a few parking meters in some of the downtown parking facilities in town. permit parking and snow. We write hundreds of tags each year, and each officer is given a patrol zone, and they're asked to patrol their zone at least once in their set of shifts. Next slide, please. Traffic safety. So this is a big one in our portfolio. We work with RCMP, engineering services, and the community to reduce collisions. The collision reduction strategy, which is very important, it's education and public awareness, automated traffic enforcement, conventional enforcement, which it would be officers out giving tickets, commercial vehicle inspections, and Operation Traffic Watch. And Operation Traffic Watch is a program where if a citizen sees some sort of violation, they can call in and create a file. However, if we're going to lay a ticket on behalf of the citizen has to understand that they will be the one testifying should the matter go to court. Next, please. We thought this would be interesting. Here's just some vehicle incident collision stats. And you can see that over the last few years, the RCMP and enforcement services, actually all of the law enforcement in Grande Prairie have worked very, very hard to bring the collision rate down. It was, 2014 was pretty much the peak, and it was pretty bad in 2014. There was 640 serious injury collisions and 4 fatalities. And it has been steadily dropping and getting down to 2021. We've got it down to 188. In 2014, a person was 3.8 times more likely to be involved in a collision in Grande Prairie than in Calgary. So we had to work hard to get those numbers down. Next, please. The information on this slide is a little older, but I thought it was still that people would still find it interesting, and it's the cost to the taxpayer of collisions. And as you can see, in 2014, the total direct cost to the taxpayer in Grande Prairie was $52 million. Are we still good? Okay. And by 2019, we had reduced that cost to the taxpayer down to $33 million. And I don't have the stats for 2021, 2022, but we've been working hard, and there has been significant savings to the taxpayer. And a lot of these, you know, they say, well, where does this cost come from? Well, a lot of it is cost of new vehicles, fire, police, ambulance, hospital recovery, and civil litigation. So, next slide, please. Automated traffic enforcement. The contractor we have is Global Traffic Services. That's our partner. It continues to be an effective tool for our traffic safety strategy. We monitor over 200 mobile locations and 5 intersection safety devices. Global employees have peace officer appointments and are managed by enforcement services. And you know, there's lots of talk back and forth about automated traffic enforcement. There's certainly people out there that don't care for it, but I believe it is the single best tool we have at reducing collisions, and I'm a solid supporter of automated traffic. Next, please. Community connections, yeah, the mobile outreach program and downtown liaison. We work very closely with these programs, as do the RCMP. We're all close business partners. And mobile outreach, we affectionately call them MOP. What they do is, you know, they focus on homeless, trespassing encampments. They provide consistent guidance to homeless and the street engaged population. The program is only a couple years old, but it has been very, very successful in dealing with the homeless in a humane and caring way. They give the street engaged opportunity to move to a better life. These are wonderful people. They're non-judgmental and very supportive. And the effects have been seen throughout the city. we still have encampments, but these people work very hard to try to help the homeless into homes, actually, and into shelters. Next, please. And these are some of the business partners that we work with. You know, one of the biggest ones is our partners with the RCMP, but we also work with Parks and Transportation, fire prevention and fire operations, inspection services, economic development, mobile outreach, community social development, environmental services, engineering, transit, and legal services. And we're all very strong business partners together. Next, please. Bike unit. Yeah, 4 full-time officers for 4 months during the summer period, focuses on connecting with the community, present in major events and gatherings. You'll see us in, you know, when there's Canada Day or a big festival, we'll be there with the bikes. It's a very good way to do patrols. And their daily patrols, they patrol the parks, paths, downtown, and hotspots. They attend South Bear Creek Ball Diamonds. They go to a lot of the events down there, and they also spend a lot of time down in Muskosipi Park. What's good about the bikes is they're able to access places where a peace officer in a vehicle just could not access, and cover far more ground than a person on foot. And people like to see the bikes out there, and I know the officers, it's one of the duties they really enjoy doing. Next is our organizational chart. I won't go into this too much. We have a program manager, and you know, on our operational side, we have support, court liaison, administrative support, and licensed inspector. I'm one of the 2 sergeants. Right now, I'm the acting program manager, but that position should be filled shortly. And then we have 3 shifts of officers, and they're broken up into CPOs and bylaw officers. Next. Yeah, so levels of authority. And I think we'll just go to the next slide, and I'll talk a bit more about it there. So we have Community Peace Officer Level 1. So we call them CPO 1. They attend calls for service and have expanded provincial authorities. They participate in a bunch of programs. You can read the programs. So when we talk about provincial authorities, we have limited provincial authorities. It's not like the RCMP who have authority, you know, complete federal, provincial, and municipal authority. But some of the key things that we do is we do animal protection, dangerous dogs, environmental protection. We enforce the Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis Act, the Insurance Act, and we have authority under the Provincial Offences Procedures Act, the Provincial Administrative Penalties Act, trespass, petty trespass, which are very important, and the Tobacco Smoking and Vaping Reduction Act. So those are some of the higher level provincial laws that we enforce. And of course, a level 1 peace officer has full bylaw authority as well. A level 2 officer responds to calls for service, animal control, bylaw, but they're limited to non-moving traffic violations. They're not able to do anything that's moving. They have to leave with a level 1 officer, but they can certainly do patrols around schools and to help with parking. And then our bylaw appointment, appointed by the city, the mayor, and they focus on the city bylaws. And they do not have moving traffic authority, but they certainly have authority under the municipal traffic bylaw. So they can still do parking enforcement, and they're also key in and around the schools. And then we have a special investigation unit. It focuses on expired licenses, business chauffeur animal, and it concerns with business operation. They do tax inspections, including vehicle for hire management, business checks. We have done some undercover operations with some businesses. When we do undercover, it's not like the RCMP. It's all to do with businesses. We don't quite have their authority. And property investigations and graffiti management. Statistics, I could never say that word properly, and insight. The following tables and pages will detail numbers of our annual reports, providing insight into the level of information we study to make changes in enforcement. And the databases we work in is the RCMP Pros. They provide information. CROMS, which is the Accident Reporting Center, and Report Exec, which is the database that Enforcement Services uses. And next. We have some raw stats up here, and for people looking at home, it might not mean that much, but I would kind of like to draw your attention just to a couple areas. For parking tickets, we saw the height in 2017, and for violation notices, we saw the height in 2017. Well, a lot of that was the reduction had to do with removal of parking meters downtown. That accounted for a lot of the tags and tickets. And then over the last couple of years, with COVID-19 patrols, the tags and tickets have been down, which is a fine thing. We're still getting the enforcement. That should normalize soon. On the files and dispatches, I can say that those are actually up over the years. In 2017, we had 658 files. In 2021, we had 2,146. And this year, our dispatches, we had 6,436 dispatches for the officers to take. So basically, that's a snapshot of what enforcement does. If you're next slide, if you ever need to contact us, there's the information. Please feel free to contact us anytime you need to, and we will try to help you out with any sort of bylaw matter that you have. And I know I went through that fairly quickly, but that's good because we want to hear from the RCMP. So that concludes my presentation. Please join me in welcoming back Inspector Peter King, the Operations Officer and Acting OIC with the Grande Prairie RCMP Detachment.
Thank you, Ross. PowerPoint presentation here. Alrighty, so again, I'm just going to provide you a quick oversight of as Grande Prairie Detachment and do a little quick year in review of our success stories throughout the year. Next slide. So we have 110 sworn officers and 58.6 municipal employees working out of the downtown detachment. Within the detachment, we have several integrated units. We have a general investigative section, which is commonly known as our plainclothes unit, drug section, crime reduction unit, specialized investigative unit, forensic identification section, police dog services, and we have a specialty units, community policing, has recently been rebranded to the community engagement and diversity unit, our traffic unit, our police crisis team, and victim services. So in our general duty, when I say general duty, I commonly mean uniform members. We have 44 uniform members that work 4 on, 4 off, 12-hour shifts throughout the year. We have an average years of service of 2.87 years. And last year in 2021, we had 27 new members arrive in Grande Prairie. Our plainclothes members, also called the GIS, we have 23 members assigned to those duties, and they have an average of 7.6 years of service. So as you can see, the city of Grande Prairie, we have 73 square kilometers to police. And last year in 2021, we had 22,521 calls for service. Those investigations or calls for service resulted in 2,915 charges. When you divide that among the membership, the members were quite busy. Through our consultation last year in our 2021-22 annual performance plan, we came together with the Mayor and Council, our Municipal Policing Advisory Committee, and we created 3 priorities for 21-22. Those priorities were: number 1, crime reduction. We wanted to prevent and reduce property crime within the city. We wanted to increase the RCMP's communication with the citizens, and we want to increase our invisibility within the community. So within our first initiative, we had our crime reduction unit and our general duty membership focus on curfew checks on our prolific offenders. We completed over 300 curfew checks, and as a result of those initiatives, we saw a 12% reduction in property crime, a 27% reduction in theft under 5,000, and 10% reduction under motor vehicle thefts. Our second priority, this was the initiative that our Community Engagement and Diversity Unit took upon, was the increased level of communication within the city. We had tackled this at 3 different levels. So we focused on trying to create more media releases. We conducted 215 media releases throughout the year. We also were selected for a pilot project. We have a dedicated own Facebook account. It's named Grande Prairie Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It started off as a 6-month pilot project, but we are proud to announce that it was a very positive result, and now it's going to be continued on forever. And we also created a new initiative, a monthly newsletter. This newsletter was designed by the Community Engagement and Diversity Unit to provide some information on public safety information, some good news stories that went beyond the media releases, crime mapping, and some crime stats. Here, as you see, this is an example of our newsletter that goes out every month, and it gives a quick snapshot of the smaller crimes, smaller success stories and investigations, and again, some information and some statistical data. The third priority within the APP was the increased visibility. We tackled this on 2 different levels. We created community engagement patrols, and within those patrols, we broke those down into 2 different types. We had a downtown foot patrols, where we had 2 members on day shifts working, doing downtown patrols. We completed 115 of those. And then we purchased or acquired a UTV, a 4-person UTV, and in conjunction with our CPOs and our mobile outreach program, we conducted 20 patrols throughout the parks and less accessible areas via vehicles. They were deemed a huge success. So I just want to go through some notable files through 2021. By no means is this just a snapshot of the success stories, but this is just, like I say, a small tidbit of what our members done this year. So through April and March of 2021, our drug unit commenced an investigation into trafficking narcotics into the city of Grande Prairie. The supplier was identified from Edmonton, and the result of the investigation revealed 88 grams of fentanyl, 221 grams of cocaine, a .38 revolver, and over $230,000 of Canadian currency. A very successful investigation, and it was just about 2 months to conclude that investigation. In February of 2021, our crime reduction unit was tasked with the city, and within the city we had an increase of commercial break-in enters that expanded into the county, into the Beaver Lodge area. That were targeting ATM machines. So our crime reduction unit was spooled up, and they led a coordinated multi-agency task force into the investigation. The investigation resulted in the drafting of 2 search warrants and executing them on 2 residences within the city. Results of those warrants resulted in 3 people being arrested. 5 commercial break-in enters investigations were solved, with over 80 charges for break-in enter drugs and firearms. This is a clip of the video surveillance from one of the businesses where the ATM was stolen. And I share that just for your perspective, so that this is the type of real life situation that we're trying to investigate. And this is the result of the execution of a search warrant at the residence, and I share this with you to show the level of violence that these individuals brought to the investigation, and the severity that these types of investigations bring to the city. So this is our rural general duty. Should be city general duty. In March 2021, conducted a vehicle stop for registration and license check. The driver was seen attempting to hide something, and the search of the vehicle upon arrest revealed 14 grams of fentanyl and 6.2 grams of methamphetamine. The suspect was charged with trafficking as a result. Again, apologize for rural general duty. That was my bad. June 2021, we conducted an investigation to a child custody dispute at a school. Members arrived on scene, arrested the suspect, who was in possession of a loaded handgun. Search warrant conducted at the suspect's residence resulted in 28 firearms and over 10,000 rounds of ammunition seized. General investigative section, this is plain clothes. This is an August 2021 Investigation was a robbery with a firearm, where $5,000 cash was stolen. I'm sharing the video clips that we had to work with. As you can see, it was a very challenging and lengthy investigation, and I'm glad to report that we resulted in 2 of the 3 suspects being arrested and currently facing charges. This is our specialized investigative unit. In July 2021, this commenced a domestic violence investigation. The interviews led to an execution of a search warrant. 52 firearms along with a large amount of ammunition was seized. Investigators also located a 3D printer and determined that the suspect was also manufacturing and functioning firearms with this printer. 1 suspect was arrested and charged with 9 criminal offenses. The community relations. I share this. This is our community engagement patrols. This is our UTV patrols. As you can see, this is our 4-person UTV, and this is our MOP and members doing a proactive patrol within the parks and the walking trails. This is a new initiative this year. It was a pilot project, and as a result of the success stories that we had through the positive accolades through our engaged people and the citizens, we have now completed a business case, and we're going to be procuring a UTV full-time and doing these patrols every year. One of the big success stories that I like to brag about in 2021 was the creation of our specialized investigative unit. This was started in September of 2020 to 2021 as a 1-year pilot project. This is a specialized group of investigators who are dedicated to investigate high-risk domestic violence and sexual assault investigations. This unit completed over the 1-year pilot project 2,196 DVU file reviews. When I say DV, I mean domestic violence, and completed 214 sexual offense related reviews. SIU assumed lead on 227 files. 148 of those were sexually based crimes. 42 were high-risk intimate partner violence occurrences, such as strangulation offenses, firearm offenses, and aggravated assaults. And 37 were kind of categories as other related within the domestic violence category. As a result, I'm pleased to announce in 2021 that this unit was formalized under the GIS umbrella, and as a result of the workload, the unit was increased to 2 corporals and 7 constables. So, as you can see, that's a very quick snapshot of the success stories and the current breakdown of the Grande Prairie detachment. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share with this, and I'm open to any questions in relation to the operations or the success stories or challenges of 2021. Great. So that concludes the presentation portion for this evening. We invite you to post your questions in the question and answer tab at the bottom of your screen. We will try to get to all the questions, but as mentioned earlier, those not covered in this evening's event will be followed up by either the RCMP or Enforcement Services. Again, I want to remind you that we will not answer questions about specific cases or investigations. Please keep your questions clean and respectful, as we will not address any that violate our social media commenting guidelines. I'll introduce our moderator, Constable Lindsay Ralph with the Grande Prairie RCMP, who will ask the first question that's been submitted.
Hello, and thank you. The first question is, what is ITRAC offenders?
ITRAC offenders. That is an acronym, and it's for the high-risk violence offenders, and that's where we have our SIU have a ability to identify prolific offenders who have a history of domestic violence, and we have ability to track them and to have them registered. Well, I've been advised that there is no questions in the queue, so I'd just like to take this opportunity to say thank you for those.
We have another question.
Go ahead.
one is related to the RCMP. The question is, what does the community policing unit do? How does it benefit the city?
Our formerly community policing unit, now the community engagement and diversity unit. Our unit is comprised of a sergeant, a corporal, and normally would be 5 constables. We're currently filling those positions. We look after engagement in the city in a variety of ways, as Inspector King already stated, through communication, through the newsletter, and through Facebook, and other various ways through media releases. We try to engage with the community. We work closely with our analysts to figure out what's going on in our community, what crimes we're seeing, and we try to get out information that's going to help people through crime prevention information and make them aware of what we're seeing. That's one small part of our engagement within the community. We also attend schools, all the schools within the city of Grande Prairie, providing presentations, but also conducting investigations within the school. When we're called to the school, our officers will go and conduct the investigations that are needed. Sometimes we're just attend schools just to talk to the kids. And so that takes up a good chunk of our time as well. Another component is engaging with the various groups in our city and trying to interact. And now we're starting to we'll be starting to do that more often with the various different cultures in our community, and touching base and going to their boards and providing information sometimes and presentations to them. So we have quite a variety of things that we do within our unit. That answers the question.
Next question is for the RCMP as well. How has Grande Prairie RCMP addressed cultural awareness training? Was it Indigenous-led, and how many officers have this?
So we have our, so the RCMP, we have various multiple variety of courses that we take online to educate our membership regarding Indigenous environment and the cultures. We have, we take a very proactive stance to ensure that our memberships are aware of the environment and their cultural environment that they're working in. And we strive to always educate and to become more aware of the different types and challenges that we're dealing with on a daily basis.
Waiting for some more questions to come in. So there's another question directed towards the RCMP. Someone writes, if I am correct, you state that there was a significant reduction in crime from 2019 to 2020. Are you sure this reduction is not attributed to COVID-19?
You're 100% right. I am not sure, but I can say with confidence that I can say that we believe that in conjunction with the impacts of COVID-19, that our different various initiatives and policing targeted initiatives, we have made a positive impact in the reduction of the number and our stats for 2021. Can some of it be contributed to COVID? Certainly, I cannot deny that. But I do have a strong belief that our initiatives and our various tactics and our various realignment of integrating with the CPOs in the city did have a very positive impact on our stats and within the city of Grande Prairie.
We appreciate everyone's questions so far, and we're still waiting to see if any further questions come up. Our next question doesn't specify who they're asking us to, but it is what is the focus for 2022, since you talked about 2021?
Excellent question. So in March of every year, we do a annual performance plan consultation with the city, mayor and council, and our municipal police advisory committee. So later this month, we have, I believe, is on March 16th. We have a scheduled meeting with our mayor and council, members of our police advisory committee, to discuss our priorities moving forward into 22-23. So we will make that available to anybody, and we will share and we can participate with the identification of initiatives moving forward.
We have another question. It states 80% of all incarcerations are Indigenous people. Do you think that more training is needed, especially in Grande Prairie with a high Indigenous population?
It's a good question. The training aspect in relation to the handling of or the investigations of Indigenous people. Yes, we're always open to improving the education to our membership in conjunction with a criminal code investigation. The incarceration rate, unfortunately, is not a handle which the RCMP controls. It's we are the investigators of crimes, and we present the facts to the judicial system. So the incarceration rate has more of a in line with those that area versus the RCMP. But with that said, the RCMP is always open to the educational component within the investigation of area. Alrighty, just the last call. I guess we're getting down to the end of the questions. Anybody with a question, you just have a few more minutes to get it forward. Alrighty then, I would like to personally thank those who attended our first virtual RCMP Town Hall. Thank you so much to the City of Grande Prairie communications teams who facilitated and made this event possible. I hope this information has been valuable. We appreciate your questions and feedback. And thanks again, and have a good evening.